We started reading people, and the people we eventually cast, Ted and Shelley, were not unknowns. I had seen Ted read for Best of the West, and he had been in the Onion Field. So I kind of knew about Ted. And then Shelley Long, everybody, she's a Second City girl. Everybody had been trying to get her in a pilot, and it just never worked. So we did bring those two in to read, and they were good individually. But there were a couple of other good choices. And the day my daughter was born, February 15th, 1982, we had the final audition for the show. And there were three pairs. There was Fred Dryer and Julia Duffy, Billy Devane and Lisa Eichhorn, and Ted and Shelley. And what we did was we got a stage that had a bar set on it. We had set up chairs because we brought the network and the studio together. We did a little performance. Each couple ran the scene, and we fed them. We had to feed the executives. They get cranky. And then we went all upstairs to talk about what the choices were, and they were all good choices. The closest person to Sam Malone was Fred Dryer, who was a professional football player. Freddie had that peacock stature. Bill Devane had this old sage quality to him that made Sam very interesting. All three different ways to do it. But the most sparks came from Ted and Shelley. They, that kind of chemistry you can't. Not me, I didn't do that. That's the way they behave. It's like Eric and Deborah. It's like Judd and Danny. All that kind, it's like Fraser and Niles. That, a director doesn't do that. That's a gift from God, if you can get that. So we decided to go with Ted and Shelley because we felt Ted was younger and the upside would be that way. We felt Freddie Dryer wasn't experienced enough. But we did bring Fred on the show. Fred played Sam's buddy, who was a sportscaster. And whenever Fred would come on the show, I would say to Ted, watch the way he behaves. Watch how he struts. Watch how he's a peacock, because that's what Sam Malone is. Because it was very foreign to Ted. I took Ted to his first baseball game. So Ted's a farceur from Carnegie Mellon. Sports are not his ken, so Teddy learned a lot about how to pretend that he knew a lot about sports.
Did he know anything about bartending?
When we sent him to bartender school. But what they do, they cut lemons most of the time, because if you made a drink, it made too much noise with the ice, and you could use the squirter for beer. They poured beers, but mainly cutting fruit.
Now, during that casting, did the network's executives agree with you that these are the two? Was there a lot of
no, it was the Brandon Tartikoff, who was my dear friend and genius, and Grant and Erwin Siegelstein and Gary Nardino from Paramount, and our agent Bob Roeder. It was pretty obvious. Where the upside was. The hardest thing was, I think, passing on Bill Devane, because he was so good.